You're listening to Everybody Pulls the Tarp, the go-to podcast for high performers. I'm Andrew Moses. Each week, you'll hear my thought-provoking conversations with Olympians, pro athletes, CEOs, elite coaches, best-selling authors, and other high performers to uncover their secrets to success. Get ready to be inspired each week when we talk about leadership, teamwork, work ethic, and more. Are you ready? Let's go. This week, my guest is Rand Pecknold, the head coach of the 2023 NCAA national champion Quinnipiac University men's hockey team. In 1994, Rand took the head coaching job at Quinnipiac for a $6,700 salary. And to make ends meet, he taught high school history 71 miles away. At the time, Quinnipiac's men's hockey team was practicing at midnight, the only time available at the nearby rink. And the team was coming off of a dismal 6-18 season in the Division III ranks. Since then, everything that has happened is truly extraordinary. Rand architected one of the most remarkable turnarounds in sports history, elevated the team to Division I, and catapulted the program to national prominence. The team has now been to 8 of the past 10 NCAA tournaments, and Rand currently ranks first among all active NCAA Division I coaches, with 615 career victories. A 5-time ECAC Hockey Coach of the Year, Rand is one of only 3 coaches in history to reach the 600-win milestone while coaching at one school. In April, Rand led the team to its first national championship in program history, with a thrilling 3-2 come-from-behind overtime victory over powerhouse Minnesota. Quinnipiac's unlikely rise to the top of the college hockey world captured the hearts of millions around the globe, and I couldn't wait to sit down with Rand to ask him all about it. And let me tell you, Rand didn't disappoint. We explored the success secrets that powered Rand and his team's David versus Goliath-like journey from hockey obscurity 29 years ago to national champions today. Rand shared so many actionable lessons on leadership, coaching, and success, and a powerful message for anyone who's ever been doubted or felt like the underdog. In our conversation, you'll hear advice on how to develop a winning mindset, improve in anything through what Rand calls marginal gains, and the power of focusing on the little details so you can go toe-to-toe with your competition, no matter who they are. Grab a pen and a notebook. You're going to need it because this one is jam-packed. So let's pull the tarp and get straight to Rand Pecknold. So Rand, I want to go way back. Hired by Quinnipiac in 1994, you're 27 years old. They pay you $6,700. You taught high school history 71 miles away to make ends meet. You're practicing at midnight because it's the only time you can get time on the ice. The team was coming off a 6-18 record, Division III hockey. What compelled you to take this job in 1994?
I'm not sure still. I guess it's worked out in the long run, but first year was crazy. I mean, I wanted to be a hockey coach, and I had done 3 years as an assistant at Connecticut College, where I played. And actually, after the first 2 years, I wanted to leave after 2 just to kind of build my resume. And I didn't even get an interview, forget a job. I did not get one interview. So I'm like, okay, I gotta go back for the 3rd year. And then, so I just needed to take anything. So I took the Quinnipiac job, and it was a pretty bad D3 team. Like, nobody wanted it really. There was a few guys, and then probably the hardest thing that first year was that I had a teaching job at Griswold High School. And so I would get up at 6 a.m., go to my teaching job, drive north. And I did a good job teaching. I don't know if people I still see them with some of my students will reach out to me once in a while. So it wasn't like I didn't do my job well there as a teacher. But anyway, I'd get home at 3 o'clock. I'd sleep 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., get up, go down, do all my recruiting at Quinnipiac, practice. Then by the time I got home, I would probably get to sleep around 3 a.m. So it was 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 6. It was like a 12-hour increment life, which was crazy. But I'm ultra competitive, and I just said, I'm going to grind it out, get through year 1. We brought in 19 freshmen, which helped us, and then we got a better practice time. We moved to 9:40 p.m., which saved my life, which still wasn't great, but that was the start. That was the beginning.
You mentioned the ultra competitiveness. Is that something that's always been a part of you? Have you always been competitive in everything?
I wouldn't say it's everything, but a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly things that I'm competitive in, and I want to win, and I want to be good, and I want to I'm self-driven, I guess. I always feel, and this is something that we talked a lot about with my team this year, like adversity is going to come at you in so many different shapes and forms, and when you're not ready for it and whatever. And like, I just think you're better off when you attack it. I think a lot of people just kind of, woe is me, things aren't going my way. And, that's how life is. Life's always like that. So, our phrase this year for my team was embrace the grind. We talked about that a lot, and we got to that national championship. We were down 2-0, and my guys didn't panic. They just kept battling, and we attacked adversity and came out in that third period, outshot Minnesota, who's arguably one of the most talented teams ever in college hockey. Outshot them 16-2, and the ice was kind of tilted. We just kept coming, and so proud of the way we played. But I think a lot of that was, because we do embrace the grind. We love it. We love the grind. Like it's how you want to attack your day.
Rand, I'm curious, when you're out recruiting, and maybe now things will change. I mean, a bit because of all the national attention that the program and the university are getting. But from a recruiting perspective, how do you go about identifying people that are those hard workers that are going to be willing to embrace the grind? Obviously, you're looking for incredibly talented hockey players, but how do you find those people that are likely going to embrace the grind?
Yeah, my two assistants do most of the recruiting. So that's Joe Dumais and Mike Corbett. And then before that was Billy Riga, who just took the head job at Holy Cross. And they do a great job. We did this study when Billy Riga was on my staff. We did a study, I don't know, it was probably 11, 12 years ago. I've kind of lost track of exactly when it was, but we did a study, and we went back and we went through like, why do kids fail at Quinnipiac? Why do they succeed? And we kept it kind of simple. Like we didn't want to overthink it, but there's definitely kids that fail, succeed, and do what we thought. So we kept those three categories. And over again, the kids that failed, it was low character or low hockey IQ. It had nothing to do with talent. And the kids that succeeded, like overachieved for me, were high hockey IQ, right? Really think the game well, and high character. Like I've had some great players for me that don't skate that well. They don't shoot the puck that well. But if they're a great kid and they can think the game, they can do really well with the way we play. And that's how we go and we beat Minnesota and Michigan and Ohio State and all these teams with, 16 draft picks, and I've got 2 or 3. That's what we need.
When the athlete gets on campus, and obviously your assistant coaches and you have identified people who you think have the high character and the high hockey IQ, and then they get on campus, what are the types of things that you're looking for to be able to determine if you were right, if they met those criteria in particular?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not going to tell you we're perfect because we make mistakes from time to time. We get duped once in a while, whether it's the kid. I still use the term Eddie Haskell. I guess I'm aging myself. Some people don't know who Eddie Haskell is. They're probably going to be Googling now if they're listening to it, but there definitely are Eddie Haskell type kids out there, and you got to be careful. What we try to really do is, and we do a good job, again, we're not perfect, because we don't just talk to one coach. We try to go back multiple coaches, or, hey, they were at USA Hockey Festival over the summer. This coach had him for a week. Let's call that guy. Let's reach out. We have enough contacts. Either I do or my 2 assistants do. And like, if you talk to 3 or 4 coaches and they're all like A+ kid, then you're on the phone with the kid, you can figure it out pretty fast. And then, again, once you get them, again, we're not perfect, but it usually works out. What does happen a little bit is sometimes a kid is a great kid when he plays a lot. And then when he's not in the lineup a lot, or he's the 4th line, or now he's on the power play, all of a sudden it changes fast. So that's where it gets a little dicey, because you might have a kid that was a superstar on his junior team, and he's a great kid. He was a superstar on his U18 team and U16. And then we get him, and he's just not good. And now he's on our 4th line or our 7th D. He's not playing as much. And all of a sudden, like, the true colors come out. So that happens once in a while, where we've had some kids over the years, once in a while, where he's a great kid only if he's playing a lot. But we try to do our best, and usually we're right.
Interesting. I recently talked with 2-time FIFA World Player of the Year, Carly Lloyd. She's a U.S. women's national team soccer legend, and she was cut from her under-21 national team. At that point, thought her dream of playing for the women's national team was over. She ended up kind of taking that moment as kind of like a demarcation in her life, as when she needed to kind of rethink and reshape the way she did things from a work ethic and a commitment perspective, and how she handled adversity. She went on to play 17 years for the women's national team, played in more Olympic and World Cup matches than any other U.S. women's national team player in history. And she credits that moment with really humbling her. She said up until that point, she said coaches let her kind of eke by on her talent. She said that 80% of her was better than 100% of most throughout most of her life until she got to that best of the best scenario, and it pushed her. I'm curious, when you see a student athlete face adversity for the first time, maybe be kind of knocked down their rear end a little bit for the first time, when maybe they had been the best player on every team that they had been a part of, they hadn't faced that much adversity. What are you looking for them to do? How are you looking for them to respond? What types of things are you looking for?
Well, I think first of all, as a coach, you need to set your team up and your players up how you want to have that follow-up meeting with a Carly Lloyd. I believe you have to have it set up ahead of time. Like, talk about, hey guys, you're going to get adversity. What's going to happen if you're not playing? And they're all sitting there in the first meeting go, well, I'm going to play every game. I'm going to be on the power, but you've talked about it. And then when you bring them in, then it's like, all right, hey, we talked about this, right? Yeah, we did. Okay. So what are you going to do? You're going to cry over the spilt milk, or are you going to attack it and be better for it? And some kids really rise up and attack the challenge and attack adversity. And other kids kind of wilt a little bit. And listen, I don't quit on that kid if he wilts the first time, he doesn't handle adversity well, because it's a process to get them over that hump. And a lot of our players that we get have been successful their whole lives, right? They've been the superstar at 12 and 14 and 16 and 18. And now all of a sudden they get to me, and now they got to be a role guy. And it's hard to get them to buy into that. So I think you really need to set up that process a little bit. But if they're a good kid, they're going to understand that. And we do give them a lot of examples. Like Zach Metzer was my captain this year. I'll use him as an example forever. Like he came in as an 8th defenseman, which you usually dress 6, maybe 7. So he had games he didn't dress as a freshman. Wasn't playing a lot when he did dress. And then we had some injuries at forward. I threw him at forward a couple games, which helped him. I think just got in the lineup. And he handled it really well, which I loved his character. And then got a little bit better, had a couple injuries, played more. Sophomore year kind of got better. And then his junior, senior, and then he did a 5th year with me. He's a 3-time All-American. He's playing pro right now, so we have so many kids that do that for us, and we can use them as examples. And then our culture is so awesome. Our guys that come in, they meet all of our older players. Our older players come and I think today, Jack Devaney's taken 3 of our guys out to play Wingfoot. So they're pumped on that. But like, he's a great person, and he'll teach them life lessons throughout. So we have a lot of our guys that are leaders, and they stay close to the program. It's a brotherhood. I think that helps us long run.
Rand, the work ethic. I mean, when you watch your program, you listen to people around the program talk, the work ethic is unmatched. And you mentioned it before. You're going up against teams that have 12, 13, 14, maybe more NHL quality players. And at this point, you don't have that many on the team. So you've got to outwork them. You got to outmatch them. What are you looking for from a work ethic perspective? What tells you that someone is going to be able to put in the work? And then what are the types of things that you're doing to make sure that they're conditioned physically and mentally to be able to grind it out that way?
Well, first off, to me, like, work ethic's important, but work ethic is not everything. It's not just about working hard. Like, I could line a kip on line, hey, skate down and back 1,000 times, and then okay, I'll do that. It's also about intensity and high compete. So in the hockey world, yeah, you need to work hard, but it's more about intensity and competitiveness, because there's a lot of 50-50 puck battles. There's a lot of 50-50 puck races. And if you hesitate for a split millisecond, you're not going to win that race. You're not going to win that battle. It's a mindset about being relentless on the puck and hunting. We use the phrase relentless a lot. We use the puck hunting a lot. And we have to create that mindset. And where we do that a lot is in our practices. And our practices are awesome. Listen, I don't watch every team in the college hockey's practices, but I would put ours up against anybody's. We've got kids transfer in, and they're like, oh, I see how you win. We just had a kid who's transferring in who just did one workout with us already from a big time program. And he said to my strength coach, like, now I see why you guys win. Like, after one day, 1 hour in the weight room, he was like, oh my God. But we have that mentality in the weight room, on the ice. And I always feel like if you have that relentless mentality, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in practice, it's automatic Friday and Saturday in games. You can't light switch life or light switch hockey. Like, you can't take it easy all week and then kick the switch on Friday night and be great against Cornell or North Dakota. Like, you gotta be used to. So that, now what happens, the second part, Andrew, that happens for us, because we practice like that, our kids improve. Like, they go like this, they take off, because they're going, right? It's that 10,000 hours of practice rule, right? Dan Coyle and other people have talked about that. By the way, it's a great book, Dan Coyle, Talent Code. It's one of my favorite books all time. But that's why our guys, improve so much and we get better. And we have guys, we have so many undrafted free agents. Like this year, we had all these undrafted never got drafted by the NHL. They have 3 years to get drafted, never get drafted. We win a national championship. All these kids get offers to go leave and go to the NHL. I'm like, well, wait, you just passed them over 3 years in a row. Not one, not two, but three. But that's because we developed them and we did a good job. It's not the NHL made a mistake. We developed these kids. But again, a lot of that is the way we practice and how we attack things. And in our weight room, our strength coach, Rajesh Patel, is an absolute rock star. He's great. It's not just that he's a good strength coach, he's a life coach. He really gets the kids to buy in to what we need to do to be better, like diet and sleep habits and stuff like that too.
Rand, now I'm curious, you've got individual players who have personal aspirations to win awards, compile stats, get to the NHL. How do you get them all bought in around a unifying team goal?
Yep. So I get asked that question a lot about our culture and why Quinnipiac wins, et cetera. And it's not one simple answer. There's so many small little things that go into it. But I can give you an example of kind of what happened this year. So we had 26 players, 15 returners. I had 11 new players this year. People kind of forget that. They're like, oh, you have this veteran team. Well, I had 11 new guys. That's a lot. It's almost half. My team was new. So I had to get them indoctrinated in our culture early. And we have talks and the older guys talk about things. The older guys are really good at that too. Our returners are good. But we had a lot of talks. And early in the season, we travel to North Dakota, which is a perennial hockey power, right? They play in 12,000 seat rink. They sell it every game. It's where else. So we played the first night. We tied them 5-5. We didn't play great. We kind of, whatever. I got on them really about, I talked about the negatives or teaching points. We didn't really show many of them. Actually, I don't think we showed any. And I just showed the positives. This is what we did do well. This is what we did well. This is what we did well. This is what we do. And then I showed a couple more positive. This is what we need to do to win. And that second night, we beat them 6-2, which they rarely lose at home, let alone 6-2. And the biggest thing I was pushing was being selfless. Like we got to be, if you're selfless, you will get rewarded. You will get rewarded tonight and you'll get rewarded in March with making the tournament and hopefully April making the Frozen Four. And I kept pushing being selfless. There's so many things that come into being selfless, right? These kids are all selfish growing up. That's why they're the best player. They held on to the puck. They didn't pass at age 8 years old. They kept it. They kept made plays. They scored goals. So getting these kids to be selfless. So after we won that game, the feeling in the locker room, it was probably a pivotal moment of our national championship run. And they were just elated to beat Nodak, who's this great team. They never lose at home. And they really bought into, okay, this is what we need to do to win. But it was setting it up as a coach and then talking about you will get rewarded if you're selfless. And then we did that. And then following it up. And again, I think after we didn't play well the first night with the tie, I didn't hammer them with all the I could have showed them an hour video of everything we did wrong. I mentioned a few things which are really puck management. We had a lot of turnovers. I mentioned the number and they were like, whoa, that's really high. But I didn't show them one clip. It was just, let's go, let's be positive. And this is what we do well. And that's something how we work on it a lot, trying to stay positive and not trying to beat them up from a confidence standpoint.
You mentioned the word selfless a couple of times there. I want to double click into that, Rand. So what does selfless hockey and what does selfless work ethic and selfless commitment to the Quinnipiac hockey program look like to you?
There's so many things. Like a big thing is, in hockey, like you want to screen the goalie, right? I call it a net anchor. Some people just say screen the goalie. And usually that player that does that right there in front of him, they take away his eyes, they make him play a little deeper, or he's looking around you. He's not bad. He loses his balance a little bit. Typically when you score a goal, the net anchor does not get a point on the play, right? The two guys that pass, they can assist, and the guy gets a goal. And the kids are they're all points driven, except for goalies. Everybody's points driven from age 6 on up. Get your points. Like the parents, how many points you get? How many goals you get? They don't talk, hey, how many times were you a great net anchor? You don't have a dad or a mom asking that at 16, 17 years old. So that's a really selfless play. And the one thing we do whenever we have a great net anchor and we whether we score a goal, we get a good chance off it, the next day, or if it's a Saturday game, the Monday, we're showing that clip and we're reinforcing, like Joey Cipollone was probably our best player at that this year. Like over and over again, Joey had these great clips of like the goal. You can't even see the goalie's head and we score a goal. And he doesn't get a point on any of them. So if you look at his point total, it's not really crazy high, but he was so good for us this year because he was so selfless. Not only as a net anchor, but other things that he did, like back checking and hunting the puck and just little things. Like it might be you have a great shift as a line and you're hunting and you keep the puck in the zone, then we get a good line change. Now the next line goes out there and scores. Well, let's let's make sure we acknowledge that in the locker room after the first period or after the game. And, there's blocking a shot. That's selfless, right? That is a stat, but there's a lot of little things. A great back check. Desi Burgard had one of the best back checks ever in the history of Quinnipiac this year. And I think we showed it like 20 times. We kept showing it. It was unbelievable. It was a game that was basically over against Princeton. And he hunted for 180 feet, caught this kid from behind. It was awesome. I'll show that for the next 20 years until I retire. And, Desi was a big part of why we won this year. He didn't have a ton of points. He wasn't our best player. He had a letter on his shirt. But those type of selfless things, that's infectious. And we need to, as coaches, make sure we're recognizing and acknowledging that. And in the end, that's what players want. They want acknowledgement. Now, where they get a lot of their acknowledgement is player of the year, all-star team, they had their points, whatever. But we want those role guys or even our top guys to realize, hey, I need to block a shot. I need to back check. I need to be selfless. And I talked all year about being selfless, and you will get rewarded. And we were with a national championship.
You guys sure were rewarded for the hard work and the selflessness. And I love that. I mean, reinforcing these little things that make a big impact that may not be on the stat sheet, may not be recognized in the year-end awards and things of that nature. That's super cool. I've also heard you say, Rand, that as a program, you need to be more detail-oriented. You need to just put more focus into things than other programs who might have more NHL draft picks on their roster. What types of things are you looking at from a detail perspective? Are there different things you're doing from a planning perspective, from a strategic perspective, thinking about games? Talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, are you familiar with marginal gains? Have you heard about that topic before?
I've heard. Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. The concept marginal gains. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been a believer in that for, I don't even know, 25. I don't know, more than 25 years. I finally, I think I read about it in a book. I don't know what, years later. I was like, I'm already doing that. I think it might have been one of Malcolm Gladwell's books. I'm not sure, or maybe it was Dan Quinn. I don't know which book it was in, but it's big in it's really started in the bicycle racing world, right? You got to be just this little better on this and a little better on that, a little better. They do it in NASCAR, right? Your pit stops. You got to be a little quicker at changing tires. And so I have the same philosophy in hockey. Like, we're going to be 2% better than you and on D zone faceoffs. We're going to be 2% better on neutral zone. We're going to have more plays than you. We're going to be able to defend those plays better. Like, here's a crazy stat. We played 41 games this year. We gave up one goal off a faceoff play in our zone the entire season. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
And that was against Minnesota in the national championship game. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. We get one the whole year. So we teach a lot. We focus a lot. So if I would say there's no set stat on that in college hockey, I would guess the average team gives up 10 goals a year on that. So it's one goal every 4 games. So right there, I gave up 1. Average teams give up 10. A bad team's giving up 15 to 20. I'm +9 or I'm +14 on you already in goal differential. I need to be better than that. I got to be better in the ozone on our plays that we run, right? The overtime goal, it's a set play off a neutral zone play. Now, you don't score a lot of neutral zone plays, but guess what? We just won a national championship because we had that in place. So it's not just face-offs. It can be little things on box outs, on pop and sticks, net front. We talked about net anchors. Like, we're going to be 2% better than you on 14 categories. And then talent comes out of the equation less. And we still have, don't get me wrong, I always talk about this, like, some of these things are talent equalizers. We still have a lot of talent. I got really good players, and we make them better. They get better after they get to us. But we do a lot of little things really well. Like our penalty kill, we're number 1 in the country in the last 12 years. Our penalty kill is always great. And there's a lot of details in the penalty kill. Obviously, you got to have a good goalie too. That helps. But those are some of the things that we have to do to beat the Michigans and Minnesotas of the world.
A play like that you described, that overtime play to win the national championship. How long are you working on something like that? Like, what goes into a set play like that ultimately paid off massively for Quinnipiac there?
Yeah, I think we ran that. I think we ran it 3 times during the game. It doesn't work all. Sometimes you just get possession and you gain the zone, and that's good too. You're winning the puck and you're getting ozone time. That's good. Do you get a ton of offensive? No, once in a while you do, and obviously it worked out perfect for us. And sometimes it works better in like a big moment because, right, there's so much pressure, and there's 20,000 fans and everything's going like, this is overtime, a national champion. You're thinking about something different. But we have multiple plays. There's 9 face-off dots. We have plays for all 9 dots. We just make sure we execute them well. But I think we put time into it offensively. And I think we also put time into it defensively. So Joe Dumais, like he handles all that. He's my associate head coach. He's a great coach. He does all the previews. Like we're locked in on what other teams run against us. And every team's different. Every coach is different. Some coaches are as detailed as we are. Some coaches are like, that stuff doesn't matter. And maybe that's good. Some players don't like that stuff. We recruit players that like that detail, that like that. They want that. They want to be coached no small. There's plenty of guys out there that just want to go drop the puck and just go play and be left alone. There's plenty of players that thrive in that culture. That's not what we want. And we have to make sure we get the right kid that's going to buy into it. And there's a phrase I always use with my guys, because we don't have a million plays, right? But I always use this because I read this somewhere. There's guys in the NFL that have to know 350 plays on Sunday, like 350, that have IQs of like 90. And they figure it out. So I'm like, we got my guys' IQs are all, they're really smart players. We can figure out 12 plays on every dot. And we got to practice it and you got to put time into it. And it's just something I believe in. And it's obviously helped us win a lot over the years.
It sure has, Rand. You've mentioned a couple books already in our conversation. You obviously have a thirst for learning and developing your craft. I've also heard you talk about a concept that I think you refer to as coaching exchange, or essentially where you bring in a coach or an expert from another program or another industry, watch you guys and work with you, or you go meet with other coaches and you share ideas, you do some knowledge sharing. I'm curious, what have you learned from that experience? And are there specific things that you've taken away that you feel like are still impacting you today from that type of exchange?
Yeah, there's a couple ways you can do it. One, you can go out and hire someone and bring them and say, I'll pay a stipend, I'll pay your expenses, come in for a day and teach me, this is what I want to learn. So I did that with Barry Smith, who was with the Red Wings. They won 3 cups in 5 years back in the late 90s. He was Scotty Bowman's top coach. And I had switched to a 1-1-3 in the neutral zone, which very few teams use in college hockey. It's very rare. Everybody runs the vanilla 1-2-2. And there's different ways you can do it. You can fold it into a 1-1-3 or whatever. But anyway, we were good at it when I put it in, but I didn't know, I felt like I didn't know all the little nuances. So I brought him in. He was great. He taught me how to practice. It's some little small things that made us better at it. Because every year I'll see colleges, like actually this year, I guarantee you next year, teams like, we're going to run Quinnipiac's 1-1-3. We're going to do it. And I'm telling you right now, they're probably not going to be great at it. They're just not. It takes a long time to do it. And it takes a long time to know how to teach it. So you can't just watch my team and then teach it. Like you have to learn it. It's a process. So you can do it that way. And I am very, very grateful to Barry because I learned a lot from him. He made me a better coach. And then the other way you can do it, which I've done a bunch, is you go with like an NHL team. So I've done it a few times with Jeff Blashill, who used to be the Red Wings head coach. He's now an assistant with the Lightning. He's a great coach. He's done world championships a bunch. Actually hired me to do world championships one year. But it's great. It's like a two-way street. So sometimes with Blash, he'll say, hey, let's just run a whole exchange. Or he'll say, hey, I want you to, cover your PK and this. And I get better because I over-prepare for that. I'm in front of 5 NHL head and 4 assistants. And the GM might be in the meeting. I don't know who's going to be in there, right? So I over-prepare, and it makes me a better coach. My wife's ready to kill me. The last time I did it for Blash, and she knows Blash. She's like, can I call Blash and tell him to shut this down? Because that's all you're doing, this video every night. I'm like, I got to get this right. And then they'll ask me, like, what do you want me to cover? So there's different ways you can do it, but I love it. It helps me because I put more time into what I'm good at, and I hit them up for, how do you do things or how do you run things? And like the last time I was with Blash, I asked him to cover the swarm defense, which we don't run the swarm defense, but we run a small variation of it. But what Blash helped me a lot, and then there were other NHL coaches in the room, what helped me a lot was how to beat the swarm, so now teams are running it a lot against me, and we just kill it now. You run the swarm against us, we're going to eat it up. And I wasn't doing that 3 years ago. Like I became a much better coach because of that meeting. I think it was Jeff Blashill, Seth Appert, and there's another NHL coach who I won't name his name. I don't want to get him in trouble. He might not. It was a combined group, so I don't want to get him in trouble. But it was great. So I love that. I haven't set my summer up yet. Some coaches in the NHL love, because the NHL coaches can't do it with each other because they play against each other, right?
Right.
They do it with me. Bill Belichick does the same thing. He brings in college coaches every year. That's actually where I learned it. I heard him. I read something on him doing it years ago. I'm like, God, can I be that college guy going to be with the NHL guys and sharing info? It's just a good way to make yourself better. And you use the phrase, like, I do have this thirst for learning. And I think I'm pretty good at my job, but I can be better. I can be better every year.
What's so fascinating about it, as you were telling that story, Rand, I'm thinking back to a number of years ago, I decided to become an adjunct professor at a local university. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. I volunteered to be an adjunct professor and teach marketing at George Mason University. Rand, I tell you, I learned more about marketing, and I was leading a marketing department. I learned more about marketing that semester teaching it than I probably did in years of doing it. And it's kind of cemented this concept for me that if you really want to learn something, or if you really want to see how much you know about something, or kind of stress test what you know about something, try and teach it or try and explain it to someone. And I'm sure all that prep that you do for those coaching exchanges and those meetings kind of help kind of cement some ideas for you, help you improve and get 2% better at whatever it is you're looking at.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. We've been running this 113 Newsroom forever. Like I know how to teach it. I know it. I've taught it to NHL guys before. I know how to do it. But when you're like, all right, I need to really prepare for this, like you nail it down to, it might just be as simple as, okay, because one thing I do out of it every time I do that, I call it Hockey 101, right? My freshmen or my transfers come in September, they have to sit down, I have to go through each thing. So I can't show them 150 clips. Like they're going to be looking around like, oh my God, losing interest. Like it's 8 to 10 clips. And I want to have those best 8 to 10 clips. And so that's the one thing someone always like, hey, what is this clip better than that clip? Where's the stick? And so there's small things. So it might be 0.5% better. It might be 1% better. It might not be better, but I put time into it. And I think sometimes you get success out of the details.
Rand, I'm sure the dust is still settling, but in terms of thinking about this national championship and everything that you've been through and that the program has been through, it's been a whirlwind, I'm sure, since you guys secured that national title. But I'm curious, when you step back, or maybe years from now, when you reflect on this, like what do you think you're going to remember most about this experience?
That's a great question. I don't even know how to answer that. Like, I mean, I'll tell you this, like it really hasn't hit home that we won it yet. I've mentioned this a few times in other articles and different things, but like I go on my phone every day. There's an app, a college hockey app, and I check the score every day. Sometimes I check it twice to make sure, like, did we really win? You know, I look at every day, I see 3-2 Minnesota. I'm like, okay. So it hasn't sunk in yet. So I'm not sure I can answer that, but it certainly, it's a proud moment. And I'm so proud of my players. Like what a great group of guys. Like they're already bonded as a group. Like they're best friends for life, you know, a chunk of them. And just this brought it even further. And how they're going to share that moment for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years of their lives it's just impressive. It's awesome. Like I'm jealous of it. I love my college hockey buddies, but we've drifted apart, you know, and now we've all got kids and families. And we have a tough time getting one round of golfing. These guys, I tell them already, I'm like, you set up a 3-day golf weekend every single summer. Before you get married, you tell them it's automatic. We're doing this every single summer. My 05, 06, 07, 08, 09 group, and they've pulled in some other guys. They do that every year. They have this 3-4 day event. It's golf, it's wiffle ball, it's everything. Beer pong. They love it. Joey Dume's in that group, and there's like 20 guys get together, and they do invite me once in a while, but I haven't made it out for it yet. But at some point, I'll wait a couple more years and go. They do call me at 3 a.m. every time they have it. I have my phone off though. I'm like, all right, I'm not dealing with you guys at 3 a.m.
Well, Rand, I could guarantee one thing, 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years from now, you and those national champion players on your team are never going to pay for another meal or another drink anywhere near Quinnipiac University. I've got to believe that'll be taken care of for decades to come. You guys have made so many people proud. You've inspired so many people around the country and around the world. I've really enjoyed our conversation and just look forward to continuing to follow your story. I know you're still writing many chapters and look forward to keeping in touch, Rand. All right. Thank you so much for spending some time with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for joining me this week. Be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you can catch all of our upcoming episodes. And if you are like me and want a world full of Tart pullers, then leave a review to help others find us. You can also follow me on Twitter at Andrew H. Moses. That's Andrew H. Moses. And be sure to sign up for my email newsletter at everybodypullsthetarp.com/newsletter. I'll share tips and insights to help you achieve maximum success and happiness. Today is a great day to pull the tarp. I am rooting for you. See you next time.